The entire ballroom fell silent when the little boy lifted his paper plate and quietly asked, "May I keep the leftovers?" A few guests chuckled. Someone near the buffet rolled their eyes. One waiter reached for the plate, assuming the child was breaking the rules. Before anyone could answer, the boy added in a trembling voice, "Please, they'll get cold if I wait too long." At the head table, Ethan Brooks, the CEO hosting the charity gala, looked up from his speech. The room had been celebrating record-breaking donations only seconds earlier, but now every eye was fixed on a child wearing shoes held together with tape. The boy wasn't looking at the food anymore. He kept glancing beneath the table, his fingers tightened around the plate, as if he were protecting something far more valuable than dinner. Ethan noticed it too. Without saying a word, he stepped away from the stage and slowly knelt beside the banquet table. Then he looked underneath. The confident smile disappeared from his face. Whatever he saw made him whisper, "Nobody touch anything." And in that single moment, the entire evening changed. If stories about kindness, hope, and unexpected heroes touch your heart, take a second to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with someone who still believes one small act of kindness can change a life. Before we begin, let us know where you're watching from by commenting your city and country. We'd love to welcome you to our growing family. Just 20 minutes earlier, the ballroom had echoed with applause, crystal glasses, and polished speeches about generosity. CEOs, investors, and community leaders filled the elegant room, celebrating millions raised for local youth programs. Everything looked perfect, until one quiet question stopped the celebration cold. The little boy, no older than 8, stood near the buffet wearing an oversized jacket that nearly covered his hands. His dark hair was messy, but his manners were careful. He waited until every guest had been served before stepping forward. "Excuse me?" he asked the waitress softly. "Is the food that's left thrown away?" The waitress hesitated. "Usually, yes." His eyes dropped to the trays. "Could I keep some?" Before she could answer, a sharply dressed event manager hurried over. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," the manager said with a practiced smile. "These meals are for registered guests only." The boy nodded immediately. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Instead of arguing, he quietly stepped back. But he didn't leave. He stayed close to the table, looking toward the floor every few seconds, as if someone were waiting for him. Across the room, Ethan Brooks noticed the exchange. He had spent years building one of the country's largest technology companies, yet something about the boy's behavior felt different. This wasn't the desperate look of someone trying to get free food. It was the worried look of someone trying not to disappoint another person. Ethan watched as the boy finally received a small plate from a kind-hearted waitress who ignored the manager's glare. That's when the boy asked, the question no one expected, "May I keep the leftovers?" The room laughed, but Ethan wasn't listening anymore. He was watching where the boy kept looking, under the table. Something, or someone, was hidden there. Without waiting for permission, Ethan lowered himself to one knee and gently lifted the long white tablecloth. Curled beneath the banquet table was a golden retriever, its breathing slow and uneven. One of its front paws was wrapped in a faded blue bandage that had clearly been changed by untrained hands. The dog's eyes opened the moment it saw the little boy, and its tail tapped weakly against the floor. A wave of whispers swept through the ballroom. A dog. How did it get in here? The event manager frowned. "Security! Get them both outside." The little boy instantly stepped between the manager and the dog. "Please don't scare him," he pleaded. "He gets frightened when people yell." Ethan held up his hand. "Nobody moves." The room fell silent again. He looked at the boy. "Is he yours?" The child swallowed hard before answering. "No. I just promised I wouldn't leave him alone." The answer puzzled everyone. If the dog wasn't his, why had the boy risked being thrown out for him? Ethan led the boy to a quiet corner of the ballroom while a veterinarian attending the gala knelt beside the injured dog. "My name's Ethan," the CEO said gently. "What's yours?" "Lucas." "And whose dog is this, Lucas?" The boy stared at the floor. "I don't know his name." That answer only deepened the mystery. Lucas slowly explained that 3 days earlier, He had found the injured dog lying beside a bus stop after being hit by a car. People walked past, some glanced, but nobody stopped. Lucas couldn't carry the large dog home. So every day after school, he returned with water, scraps of food, and clean cloth for the wound. Tonight, the rain was supposed to start, Lucas whispered. I thought he'd be cold, so I followed the smell of food here. Several guests quietly wiped away. Tears. Then the veterinarian looked up from the dog. Wait a second. He gently turned over the dog's worn leather collar. There are initials engraved here. The room leaned closer. The initials made Ethan's face lose all color. He knew exactly who the dog belonged to. That can't be possible, Ethan murmured. Years earlier, before his company became successful, Ethan had worked nights delivering packages. Every evening, an elderly security guard named Mr. Harris greeted him with coffee and encouragement when he felt like giving up. Mr. Harris always arrived with the same loyal golden retriever at his side. The collar read H. Harold Harris, the man who had believed in Ethan before anyone else. I've been trying to find him for months, Ethan said quietly. One guest searched online and found heartbreaking news. Mr. Harris had recently passed away after a long illness. With no nearby family, the frightened dog had disappeared before neighbors could rescue him. Lucas lowered his eyes. So, he was waiting for someone who wasn't coming back. No one in the ballroom could speak. The event manager, who had tried to throw Lucas out only minutes earlier, slowly walked over, his voice cracked. I judged you before I knew your story. He knelt in front of the boy. I'm sorry. The apology wasn't loud, but in the silent ballroom, everyone heard it. The atmosphere had completely changed, and Ethan realized that the evening's biggest act of generosity had never been written on a donation check. It had come from a child who refused to abandon a lonely, injured friend. The story, however, was far from over. The greatest surprise was still waiting. The veterinarian finished examining the golden retriever and smiled for the first time that evening. He's dehydrated and exhausted, she said, but he'll recover. Whoever cared for him over the past few days gave him exactly what he needed to survive. Every eye turned toward Lucas. The little boy looked embarrassed, rubbing the sleeve of his oversized jacket over his eyes. I just didn't want him to think everyone had forgotten him. The words landed heavier than any speech given that night. Ethan slowly reached into his wallet and pulled out an old, faded photograph. It showed a much younger Ethan standing beside Harold Harris and the same golden retriever outside a warehouse nearly 20 years earlier. I kept this because Mr. Harris once told me something I'll never forget, Ethan said. Success isn't measured by how many people know your name. It's measured by how many people feel safe when they hear it. Ethan looked at Lucas. Tonight, you reminded me what that really means. Then, in front of hundreds of stunned guests, Ethan made an unexpected announcement. I came here hoping to raise money for children. Instead, a child reminded me how to live. The ballroom erupted into applause, but Ethan wasn't finished. He quietly asked Lucas, would you like to help me start something in Mr. Harris's honor? Lucas blinked. Me? A foundation, Ethan said with a warm smile. One that helps families who can't afford emergency care for injured pets and provides meals for children who spend their own dinners caring for them. Tears filled the waitress's eyes. Even the event manager lowered his head, humbled by what he had witnessed. Months later, the Harris Hope Foundation opened its doors. Shelters partnered with schools. Thousands of abandoned animals received treatment, and children facing hardship found warm meals, school supplies, and people who cared enough to listen. Lucas became the foundation's youngest volunteer. Every Saturday, he visited recovering animals, reading stories to the ones too frightened to eat. The golden retriever, now healthy and playful, never left his side. Near the entrance of the foundation hung a simple framed paper plate from that unforgettable night. Across it, in a child's careful handwriting, were the words, "May I keep the leftovers?" Beneath it was another line that every visitor stopped to read. Kindness begins when we notice the ones everyone else walks past. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories, and share it with someone who believes compassion can change the world. And before you go, tell us your city and country in the comments. We'd love to know where our kindness family is growing. Because sometimes, the smallest question, "May I keep the leftovers?" doesn't reveal who is hungry. It reveals who has the biggest heart in the room.